Hello, I'm Chris Osmond, and this is Solutions. Enough complaining, let's fix America. Today I want to read another excerpt from my book because I believe it is relative to what's going on in the world today. Basically, the way I see our leadership as being exposed by the COVID-19 as being immoral and stupid. And I'll get to that at the end of the reading. Why I believe they are acting in both an immoral way and a stupid way. But for now, this is chapter 14 from my book, Solutions Enough Complaining, Let's Fix America. And the title of this chapter, or this section of the chapter, is called Political and Otherwise Leaders. It starts off with a quote. Quote, G.W. Bush and his administration should be held accountable for all of the lives lost due to the false flag of weapons of mass destruction. At a bare minimum, a good leader should possess the ability to unite the majority of people they seek to lead. There should be no divide which a leader's influence could not cross, including imaginary blue or red lines. This quality, in part, must come from a particular leader's charisma, but would also include the policies upon which that leader bases his or her case for election. In other words, a good Republican leader should have policies that are appealing to Republicans, Democrats, Greens, and any other party, group, or individual. A second trait that a good leader should possess would be the ability to enact the policies upon which he or she base their campaign. To this extent, the leader should be able to exact the change they promise. As to the time in which those promises should be fulfilled, a good leader should be able to provide a relative time frame as to how long their proposed changes should take to enact. They should be able to predict any impediments that might stop their progress, because a good leader should be able to lead his followers to the promised land and not over a cliff. With that in mind, the true term limits should be those in which the people decide that a particular leader has failed in his promises or predictions of the biggest impediments to his or her promised plans. One thing people should not do is continually vote for leaders who fail to improve the city, county, municipality, state, nation, or world over which they have governed for decades. As an example, if the world in which one grew up is worse than it was prior to a leader's ascension to power, said leader should be voted out of office, and an analysis of their time in office conducted to determine possible reasons for such bad outcomes. Sidebar: Nancy Pelosi has been in Congress since the mid-80s. She is worth over $100 million, and she is doing nothing to help the majority of the people, or very little to help the majority of people. And I'll get to that at the end of this reading. Now back to the book. We shouldn't be building libraries to honor people like George W. Bush. Maybe a statue to remember how terrible he was as a leader, but no libraries. What the accountability for bad leadership would look like is a matter that should be left up to the American public. But Bush and his cohorts should all be indicted for what appear to be war crimes and crimes against humanity. As things stand currently, the neocons have gotten away with criminal acts that have cost America an obscene amount of treasure from Americans and innocent people worldwide, and an even more obscene amount of blood. Another sidebar: Obama was no better. He took Bush's 2 wars and turned them into 7 wars, and then got the Nobel Peace Prize, which was ridiculous. Back to the book. 1.3 million people have been killed because of the Bush administration's lied to an undiscerning American public. For this type of behavior to go unpunished, or at the very least properly investigated, sends a signal to all who come after George W. Bush, sidebar, like Trump. Back to the book, that there are those who live above the law. This is not to say that the Democrats have been any better, because in most cases they simply stood by and watched or helped the neocons get away with murder, figuratively and literally, especially now with the resistance Democrats giving Trump more money than he even asked for his military budget. It's utterly ridiculous. The resistance is basically symbolic. But when it comes down to policies, they give Trump almost everything that he asks for. And finally, we have some of the Congress people actually opposing Nancy Pelosi's everything must go. By everything, I mean incumbents. Although almost all incumbents must be voted out of office. After thorough research and exposure of their political records, Americans must be allowed to make an honest assessment of a given leader's record. The voting public must be given all information necessary to compare and/or contrast a leader's rhetoric with their actions and voting records. In all instances where political leaders have failed to make any progress towards their stated goals, they should be considered incompetent or fraudulent and should therefore be voted out of office at the first available opportunity. Now, this is why I think that the COVID-19 outbreak has exposed our government for its immorality and its stupidity. It's immoral because it's been months since we've been told to stay home. And we haven't been given any kind of real income to do such a thing as stay home. So there is no way that they can continually print up trillions of dollars to go to corporations and not give it to the people. And then it's stupid to do it in that manner because the corporations are the end of the line. In my opinion, what happens in America is you have consumers, they have to buy goods, they have to pay rent, they have to buy food, they have to buy all this other stuff. And then that money goes to the corporations or to the landlords or to the banks, and then it can go out. But if they instead give the money to the corporations initially, then that money doesn't help the people. As opposed to give the people the money, they will spend it on the goods and services that they need to spend that money on. And in the meantime, you're helping the people out, and then it's going to the corporation. So it's stupid. So our government is inept. Nancy Pelosi is inept. They're all inept because they keep passing these laws where the money is just going to a dead end. It's going to its final resting place. Some corporate entities bank vault or some rich person's bank vault. But instead, they could have it going through the people by giving it to the people first who have to spend that money and buy the goods and services from a corporation, and then to the corporation. Now, this has been Solutions. Enough complaining. Let's fix America. And that's my take on these issues. I hope to see you again. Thank you.